Good morning. We're recording. Hi. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is your full moon astrology report for the full moon in Virgo that is happening on March 9th, 2020. And that is going to be at about 10:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the US. And this is, wow, this weekend, I have I haven't been this excited, honestly, for a full moon in a long time. And we aren't even there yet, but today, especially, the sun is opposing Neptune today, and it's just kind of like setting all the domino pieces up for a really awesome display of momentum that is going to be moving us forward. But always with a full moon, the sun is illuminating all of the things that are often embedded in our subconscious and in the intuitive parts of us and how we feel, not necessarily things that we're working with on a conscious daily basis. But this is also something that we could all stand to infuse into our lives a little bit more, is the aspect of being still, letting the momentum build as opposed to constantly always engaging and doing things. It's very masculine oriented in terms of the energy and moving forward, electric, all of that stuff. And as Mercury is now retrograded into Aquarius, which is a fixed air sign, which carries this resonance as well, we're really gonna, there's been a lot of mental activation lately. And remember that full moon in Leo and how everybody has been just kind of going through a crazy shitstorm since then? Well, there is a very good reason that happened, because the sun is conjuncting Neptune today. And everything has been happening since the last lunar cycle, and now coming to this point, I feel like has been clearing out so much to let that aspect come in fully. The sun conjuncting Neptune in Pisces in this degree that has to do with the master instructing the disciple. And rather than feeling like there's any specific master, or if we're the master and somebody else is the disciple, it's really the idea of the transference of the deepest spiritual knowledge onto the next generation. And I think that this has come in with the sun and Neptune together at this degree right now is absolutely a huge awakening and awareness that's coming in. And boy, it's being supported so much by the sun and Neptune coming together. So there has been a lot of brain fog, but this is, sink or swim at this point. This is where the mystics swim and the psychotics drown. And so it could really end up being like a total manic episode, but really, I feel like that it's really collectively this opportunity for all of us to really take that transference. Like, we are getting the information. So we'll look at the chart for today, because like I said, it's a big setup, and then we'll look at the full moon chart tomorrow and see, a little deeper into what it means, the opposition between Venus and Pisces. So let's get into the chart. All right, so this is for today, which is March 8th, Sunday, March 8th. This is actually the chart of the moment for Portland, Oregon. So if you are a considerable astro nerd, or you live in Portland and you want to see what the actual houses are for Portland today at this moment, you can see that. But we can see here the sun and Neptune coming together. And let's look at our moon now, because she has moved into Virgo, which is the sign where the full moon is happening for the moon. So what is Virgo? Virgo is it's the hermit. It's the sixth house. Virgo is analytical. It is meticulous. Virgo is mutable earth, right? Virgo is the magic, the actual earth magic. And the sixth house are the areas of your life where you're cultivating that inner magician. Virgo is named after the Vestal virgins, and in mythology, these women took up the mantle of committing their lives to service, and the service that they provided was to always tend the fire, the hearth fire for the community. And it was believed that this fire was what gave the community its vitality and its energy and its life. And so it was a very institutionalized and spiritual position to have. And these women came together as a collective, and they lived they were completely free. They weren't tied to any marriage partner or family, and that allowed them to give 100% of themselves to this particular service, which is to keep the flame alive for the sake of the community. And so with Virgo, because it's meticulous and oriented and analytical, it's because you're putting all of that energy to service. And so when we're at Virgo time during the growing cycle, it's when the plant kind of shifts gears and starts doing all this work under the soil in its root system to cultivate all of the nutrients that the plant needs to grow the actual fruit, that bears the seed for the next cycle, right? And so it's all happening under the surface. It's really the hermit card. And this is where the sun is going to oppose the moon, is in this position. And so we're bringing up a lot of this energy. We're really drawing to this energy of like really getting down to what is it that we're actually doing? What are the physical things that we're devoting our service to? And how does that manifest into an inner routine, an inner set of habits, an inner willingness to devote yourself to service, of developing yourself in order to then show up as a full human to the collective and be of service. And so I like to think as the Virgo energy, it's the hermit in the tarot. And the hermit I think of as, Gandalf, the wizard, the Merlin, the wizard that goes off and lives, alone without really engaging in the rest of society, in order to cultivate this inner mastery, developing their practice, developing their craft of magic. And Virgo is definitely earth magic, making real manifested change in the world around you. But you do that through the mind, which is why Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. So this is kind of the energy we're working with as we're opposing our sun in Pisces conjunct with Neptune. And Pisces is like, it's just the big picture. It's the energy you tap into as a Virgo in the Virgo energy. That's why it's the opposition, because it's actually meticulous in real time, things that are happening, whereas Pisces is like the expansive potential of everything. But they're both very much connected to the idea of service to the community and spiritual, the spiritual knowledge. So we're, all this time, this whole lunar cycle so far has definitely been building up to this like inner work that we're doing to figure out who we are, where our personal power is, how we express ourselves, and then coming through and showing us where we need to balance between trusting and surrendering to the greatest divine plan, and also where internally we know we need to work in order to prepare ourselves to be able to accept that in the first place. And so there has been a lot of clearing. And right now, as we come up to the full moon, it's going to show like every last bit of it. What else needs to go? What else needs to go to make room for all of this like new, incredible information and transcendence to come in through the sun and Neptune. So right now, the moon is in a trine with Venus and Uranus, who are also coming together today. So Venus is at home in Taurus, and Uranus has been in Taurus for a while and will for a while. And then this is the collective shift in our material reality. Taurus is the earth, fixed earth, and is naturally square to the ruler of Uranus, which is Aquarius. And so, this lightning bolt, quick shift, flipping the script that Uranus represents, that's outside of the box to kind of propel us forward, is meeting up with Venus in her home. She loves being here. This is where she's home. She is home amongst what makes her feel comfortable and secure and safe amongst all of her things and her resources. And she's really about just presenting herself in a beautiful, harmonious way that's completely like in line with the natural energy. Like she's just in tune to it, and that comes out very naturally. She's very fertile because of this, It is the essence of the feminine energy of being still, receptive, intuitive, and she is in her glory right now. And so when she comes to meet up with Uranus at this degree that's like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, she's really helping us. Like, it just feels really good right now, even though everything's up in the air and there's no real we have no real security, because Uranus is constantly changing things with what gives us security. But, Venus is coming along showing like this is all part of it. This is all part of the plan. This is all part of the larger context. So like finding some comfort and finding some security in that the change that's constantly happening, or the lack of it, seemingly lack of security, understanding that it's really making big change for everybody. And it's we can take a moment to actually like harness this and feel good about it. So the moon right now is trining that. So Virgo, early Virgo, we're kind of like starting to figure out how to do magic, right? That creativity comes from the merging of polarities. So when we deal with opposition to things, we lean into it and find the balance point, and then we create something new. And that's what Virgo, it's figuring it out with our minds, like, oh, this is where this goes, and this goes, and this goes. And it's like, it's actually seeing the whole puzzle for what it is, and then starting to put all the pieces in, like actually doing it, and actually being able to and this comes with a practice too. You have to be able to be diligent and do it every day, and you can't be really distracted. Virgo, is very hyper focused and analytical, and so the moon is bringing us to this place to do it, and balance completely with this, like, Venus coming into Uranus and being like, it's going to be okay. We can actually feel good about this. The earth is still supporting us, even though it's changing. It's okay. Like, be willing to come into that. And the moon is absolutely support at how we feel. The moon is supporting that with, like, we're actually learning to make something out of that discomfort and opposition. We're able to put everything where it needs to go in order to get the most out of it. And it's in service, ultimately. It's a very deep service-oriented set of behaviors and actions. So the moon is going to quincunx Chiron. That's in conjunct. That's like a complete square peg in the round hole. I mean, yeah, as you're moving along and you're like being aware of the fact that there's like magic around you, and that there's a larger picture to things, and you're seeing things that you don't normally see that you're adding into the mix. This focus on our wound and our self-worth and our shame around it, like, there's just no room for it. They don't come together. And so we still need to honor that, because it's not going away anytime soon. Chiron's going to be in Aries for the next 6 years at least. I'm pretty sure 2026. So it's certainly, we still need to pay attention to, but the moon is just like, okay, well, it's time to like really get down to working here. And we can't constantly be like focused on like all of this aspect of ourselves. We have to like give this some breather. And so that you'll feel the tension there of just like, what do I actually focus on? And just let that pass, because those things can be one in this, they can exist, and they can also exist in a way that they don't connect at all. And that's okay. Maybe you'll find some adjustment out of it. Maybe you'll just accept it for what it is, but you'll definitely feel like, I don't really have time for that. I need to get down to like seeing, and I see like what's around me and what I have at my disposal. I don't have to constantly be like acting out of my wound of self-worth all the time in order to prove myself. This is part of my full moon. This is some disclosure here. Part of my full moon intention of releasing is around doing things in order to, the wounded healer, right? You're really just trying to compensate for your wound with all the things you're doing instead of just being yourself. And as Venus conjuncting Uranus, and then we have the moon is going to do a sesqui square. It's a 135-degree angle with all this late Jupiter or Capricorn energy today. And so that'll be, this is heavy still. Like, we can't get away from this energy necessarily with all of this in Cap, especially Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn, but also Jupiter and Mars. There's just so much here. So we can't really get away from it. Look at that, all in Portland's 8th house of the subconscious and the shadow. I have lots to say about that, but not right now. So the moon, we're going to be feeling still like, oh yeah, look at this, all the, this is how you do it, getting really comfortable. This is the time when the plant is like recalibrating itself, where its hormones are going, like what the focus of the plant's like physiological functions are. This is it, it's shifting. It's like it's on its own hormonal endocrine cycle, and this is what happens, is everything shifts now to try to like do something different with the resources it has. And that's what the moon in early Virgo is doing. Is like, we're shifting gears now, and we're like, okay, now what do we actually have to do? So this stuff isn't going away. So there is like this tension that's subtle, but it's not really there in its fullness, and so we can kind of feel it. It's just like, oh, because what'll happen is that then the moon will get into late Capricorn or Virgo, and then it'll trine all this energy and really support it. So, but for now, we're kind of like not sure yet. So it doesn't feel like it really lines up with these big, massive changes in material reality that are happening. So this is today. This is just today. This is the setup right now, which I just think is so hopeful and beautiful, because it is going to kind of get a little gnarly. So we're going to look at the next chart for the actual full moon. Let's see here. Sweet. So again, this is for Portland. I mean, look at this. I mean, there's a lot of red here. This is a lot of red, because so not only is the moon, you can see here, opposed the sun at the time of the full moon. There's also this sesca square with Uranus, really strong. So again, that 135-degree angle. They're both in Earth signs, right? The moon will be in late Virgo, and Uranus is still in Taurus. And so they're both in Earth signs still, but there's like something that's not quite matching up. It could be like past life stuff too, where there was at this point, there was something about this arrangement, this connection. And in Uranus right here, this at a degree is like, it's gone from the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and it's gone immediately into the widow at the open grave. It's time to let go of the past. And everything that's been leading up to that has kind of been showing us, especially again with the sun conjuncting Neptune, like we have everything we need. Everything, it's surrendering to this huge, big process that's happening that is on such a large collective level. And there is, you know, it's the hanged man in some ways. But and then as Venus and Uranus move through Taurus today, they both move into this zone at the same time of like, well, now you have to let go of the past in order to keep moving forward. So this will be, you know, this is going to be a good time to look at what exactly we do need to let go of in a very material way. You know, we might have things that we think that we should be doing that will give us the resources that we need, or how to do it in a certain way, or it has to only go through this channel. I think that we're in a position right now with this full moon, absolutely, to let go of what hasn't been working and like really let it go, and let Uranus kind of like, you know, amplify that in some ways, like use the power of the lightning strike to really like activate it. And Venus is just like, yeah, lightning's part of nature. It's part of me too. You know, that's part of the earth, and natural energy is also this like this intense discharge of energy. And she's like, just take it in, you know, just take it in. This is my home territory. I accept all as the sacred feminine. That's what Venus is in a material form. So let's look at the full moon, my notes here. So we have the full moon is at 19 and 19. Well, actually 20 and 20 for the Sabian symbols of the sun and the moon. So what is this degree? For Pisces, it's a table set for an evening meal. The soul consciousness finds nourishment in the harvest of what has been relevant to the archetypal purpose. Okay, everything we need, we're getting everything we need. An indication in that in the end and at the appointed time, the individual's needs will be met among those to whom he is linked by spiritual web energies. This is the, you know, this is the table set for the ascension. It's all there. We can see it. The sun is illuminating it. This is where we're headed. It is the center of our focus, and it's already, and you can bask in this in some ways. This is where the soul gets renewal. The table is set for us. Now here's the moon opposing it in the same degree of Virgo, a caravan of cars headed to the West Coast. Again, we're talking about the totalization of some sort of spiritual purpose, but for here, it's already getting there. The table is set for the meal. Like, we've already done it all, and it's just a matter of showing up. The moon, us, what change our moods, our feelings, our intuitive nature, the subconscious realm. The moon is talking about it in an actual cooperative journey. It's a caravan. So a caravan of cars going to the West Coast. It's like moving to the new frontier. Everybody's cooperating together, that there's a structure and an order to it. It's very Virgo, you know, you have to organize things. You have logistics when you have something like this. I don't know if you've ever done anything like this, but it does require a lot of communication and a lot of planning and an ability to move fluidly, but also in a cohesive group. And it's about persons that are journeying together, you know. So whoever your caravan is right now, we're starting to really figure out like, okay, how are we going to get from A to B as a group, and how are we going to organize? So we're going to start really, that's going to be the full illumination. We're going to see that. So you got to look at where Virgo, 20 degrees Virgo is in your chart and what's aspecting it at the same place. Just like, it's aspecting not only the sun, the moon is, but it's also aspecting Neptune, also opposing Neptune. And then let's look at the other transits. There's so many that are happening at the very moment that, or just at the same day that this full moon is happening. Because this is all the stuff that we need to work on and really pay attention to in order to finish out this lunar cycle, because the next full moon is going to be right around the equinox, and that's going to be that's the new year. So we got whatever's happening now is like really, really setting us up. And the full moon is like this. It's not so much of a releasing even, it's just showing us like what we actually just need to do. And so that will require some release. And I think that's coming from Uranus and Venus and Taurus, honestly, coming together and showing us where we need to let go, what the potential is, and then what we have to let go of. So looking at where Venus and Uranus and early Taurus are in your chart, and also where the full moon of Virgo and where Sun and Neptune are in your chart, that's going to really give you an indication of like what areas of your life you really want to be focusing your releasing intentions on, right? So not only that, the moon now is going to trine all of the late Capricorn energy. So it's going to trine Mars in Capricorn. It's going to trine Jupiter, which is a fascinating degree about, for Jupiter, it's accepting defeats gracefully, which is not easy for Jupiter. It's already having such a hard time in Capricorn because it's just like expanse. And it's just like Capricorn's like, well, no, you got to actually do something eventually. So Jupiter is becoming less powerful and more frustrated. But the moon at that degree is a royal coat of arms enriched with precious stones. And it's like, are you willing and able and ready to assume your royal office? The monarchy and the royalty, they had, if you've ever been to any of the, in European countries, like medieval kind of like museums, or like the Catholic Church, like the vestry where they have all their treasure, it's literally treasure. But the things that are adorning the leadership at that time had precious stones, like actual gems and crystals, because that is an indication of your being ordained to lead and to be able to accept this royal office and have a lot to do with royalty. And so the moon is coming along and saying, hey, Jupiter, just let go, like accept defeat and realize you've learned more than what you would have gained winning in this, whatever this is for you. And are you ready to actually step into your power? Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I keep getting, it's not even chills. Solar plexus keeps getting activated and activated and activated. So if you're having problems there and it's like, it's too much, you can use citrine. That'll help. And, frankincense is great to keep your energy flowing, but I think using citrine stone on the solar plexus, really, it is boosting and positive and optimistic. And so it's going to like help, but, you also want to ground yourself and you want to keep things moving. You don't want it to get stuck there and get excessive. So that's kind of like a practical energy thing for right now. So Venus and Uranus, Venus especially, coming around to sextile the nodes. The north node especially, it's going to trine the south node in Capricorn, right, of what we're letting go of. But it's trining the north node in Cancer. And this is such a nice, it's like, let going of the past and trust that there is like you remember in Indiana Jones when he has to like take the leap of faith and walk across the gorge? This is the degree that Venus is at when it sextiles the north node. It's the bridge across the gorge. And it's not always, it's more about conquering obstacles. You have to actually build the bridge. It's not like the leap of faith where it's just there, but you do have to actually build the bridge and know that there is a way to cooperate enough to get across the gorge. And Cancer, you're feathering your nest at this point. And so these two are absolutely like supporting each other to like be activated. The north node is where we're coming from. The north node is where we're headed. South node is where we're coming from. It's time to let go of. And then Venus at home in Taurus, she's just like, I am a queen, man. I'm the empress. I make anything happen in real time, and it's beautiful and it's harmonious. So she is really this fortifying our and building our nests and like preparing ourselves. Again, it's preparing ourselves to be this vessel, this huge upgrade. And it's happening right now, like it's actually happening. And so the full moon, again, showing us where we, it's showing us what we need to do to actually cooperate logistically to get to where we need to go, which is, the sun and Neptune, just showing us, you know, the table set, it's waiting for us. So Uranus and Taurus, early Taurus, and then looking to where the North Node is. And then the moon trines Pluto. Now, I've been really thinking about this degree lately with the Sabian symbol, because it's the idea of it's a store with like beautiful Oriental rugs, and the of this degree of Capricorn. And the idea is that there are traditions and cultural materials that allow comfortability on the path as well. And if you think about a rug as like a prayer mat or a yoga mat or something like that, it's also the idea that you can use these rich traditions and material, the extravagant, not even extravagant, it's just like the things that culture and tradition has built over time, the ability, like these like rugs, prayer mats, you can utilize them as part of what you're building. And so Pluto's been sitting here for a minute, and I've really been just sitting with Pluto, because I'm like, what are you really tearing down? And I think that what I'm coming to realize, especially with the moon here, trining it after this full moon, is that really Pluto is giving us the opportunity to shift how we use these things. It's almost like there's a it's almost I don't want to say underhanded, but we're taking these rich traditions, these beautiful aspects, the things the culture has built, for all of us, and taking those things, and because it's Pluto, it's like totally tearing it down in order to build something new. It's showing you the deepest part of it. But with the moon here, we're kind of like unearthing in some ways all of the negative aspects of that, and then at that point being able to reutilize them for something that's much better. And the moon trining this point is a flag at half mast in front of a public building. It's the social acknowledgement of a job well done and a destiny fulfilled. So for us internally, we can feel very that drive for becoming a master, and for the public to recognize that, because they recognize the value in that, very much balanced with this really deep unearthing and unlayering of what the culture has given us so far to reach this goal, whatever it is. I keep thinking of the prayer mat, so that's what I'm like, all of the things materially that allow us to feel comfortable in the pursuit of our goals. It's like we see now where we're aligned with Pluto tearing it all down in order for us to like actually use the things that our culture is built for real progress and progression, not just for the attainment of the negative side of Capricorn, which is just like creating for the sake of just getting more money and like more materials and more wealth and greed. Basically, Pluto is just like testing all of that. And now the moon is absolutely, we want to do something of service, and so we're totally with Pluto to like tear down all of that stuff. I really like that. And then the kicker is right at the end of the day, Mercury moves direct in Aquarius in the degree of the butterfly emerging from the chrysalis, which is where it's at right now. And it's like pretty much slowing down to a standstill. So it's sitting on this point. What I really like about today, right, actually tonight, or earlier, not even today, it was early this morning, the moon, before it moved into Virgo was at the end of Leo, so it opposed Mercury in Aquarius. And so the moon in Leo was the mermaid, the little mermaid. It was the mermaid emerging into human form. And so it was really the story of the Little Mermaid. And it was completely opposed Mercury. So the mind, where the mind is about that, which is the butterfly emerging from the chrysalis. That's a totally different experience than the little Ariel becoming, a human, because this is not necessarily a very painless, and it's certainly, I have to think about this more, but this was, we on the inside are like ready to get our legs, we're ready to come out of the ocean of potential and like do something. Whereas Mercury is just like, oh, just remember, this is all part about you coming out. It's not just about getting your legs, it's about the collective coming out as a butterfly. And so there's just a lot of information right now, and we're in such a really cool time. So reach out if you want to know how this full moon actually is going to be affecting you in your chart, because you can write your own full moon intentions that will help activate your highest potential, and in the process our highest potential, by really having a much keener sense of where these things impact your own unique psychological and spiritual blueprint, which is all your astrology chart really is. So thank you for joining me. Check out the description box below, all the details about how to book a reading, how to donate to the work, how to get to my blog, all of these things. There's content every day in some place, shape, or form, astrologically and otherwise, to help us all kind of get along on this mission in life. And happy full moon. I hope it is productive and you're getting all the puzzle pieces where they need to be. And I will see you all on the next video. Bye.